guys, so for today's video I have something a little bit different, and I'm also filming it outside because it's like 70 degrees right now, and I was like, it's too nice of a day to sit inside and film and like turn on my lights and stuff. I like made myself some ice water in my moo sippy cup, and yeah, so I'm just going to be talking to you guys today because if you guys like follow me on Twitter or Instagram, or you've been watching my videos, then you guys know that I have been in college for the past year. So it was actually my freshman year of college, and I just finished like 3 days ago, I want to say, which is why this video is going up a little bit late. But I wanted to talk to you guys because I see on my social media, and if you guys go ahead and follow me, then I'll see from you new followers that I know that a lot of you are around my age. So that means that you either just finished your freshman year of college, maybe you've been in college for a year already, like ahead of me, or you guys are still in high school or middle school, which means that you're still reaching that point. So I thought that I'd go ahead and talk to you guys about some of the things that I experienced. I've seen a couple other girls do this, and I just thought that it was really kind of cool, and it lets you guys find out things about college firsthand, and yeah, from someone who's really not gonna like sell you something that's not true, because a lot of times if you go on a college tour or something like that, or you talk to people, they don't want to tell you the truth and tell you the bad things. So I'm gonna go ahead, give you guys some advice, tell you my experience, and just tell you guys all about that. I do want to say though that I'm not going to tell you guys about my school in particular, or like at least the name of my school. For confidentiality reasons, I can't tell you what school I go to, and yeah. I am pre-law, which means that I can technically major or minor in whatever I want. As long as I end up taking my LSAT, I can move on to law school and I'm fine. So if you guys are looking into specific schools, that's great. So for everything with this, I'm a liberal arts student. I am studying English and communication, so I'm a double major. And yeah, so that is what I'm doing. As for work, let's start with that since I'm talking about what I major in. As an English student, I have to take some core curriculum classes, which means that there's something that I don't necessarily want to be studying, but I do still have to take 1 or 2 classes in it, which I believe is totally appropriate. I think that college is a time to explore everything, and although you've gotten that kind of exposure in high school, it's still really important to get that level of understanding on the college playing field. That being said, not every class is going to be what you're necessarily interested in, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have any worth. And I think that a lot of kids don't necessarily apply themselves in these core classes, but they're really a time to boost your GPA because these core classes are normally easier. So for my first year, I was taking typically core curriculum classes to get those out of my way, and I was taking some classes for my majors. My GPA is relatively still high, and that's because I have a really great work ethic, which is, I think, one of the most important things in college is time management. Throughout the year, I really did not have an overload of work, which I don't know if that's typical for college students. So I went to every single class and I was doing all of my work, and yet I still had tons and tons of time to do my own thing. Some of that has to do with the fact that teachers that I had just were typically easier, but the other thing is that I was always ahead of my work. So that means that 2 weeks before my essays, I was working on them. A couple days before my tests, I was studying for them, and I was always taking notes in class. I was always being attentive and things like that, which some of my friends weren't necessarily doing the same things, so they were having a harder time with work. So if you guys are looking to maximize your time in college, I really recommend getting on a good work ethic kind of pattern. If you're not already doing that in high school, or if you haven't already done that in college, that's my biggest recommendation, is to really manage yourself because no one else is there doing it for you. Keep an agenda and keep 2 calendars of work, whether that's on your phone and like a bigger calendar, or just 2 kind of smaller calendars that you keep around your dorm room. That's what I did. I'd have like an essay for every class due roughly 3 weeks apart, and then I'd have a test roughly 3 weeks in most of my classes as well. When you go to college, you're typically leaving behind most of your childhood friends, whether that's people that you grew up with, people that were family friends, just your family in general, or just your best friend from the last year. And unless if they're going to school with you, you're really kind of thrown into a boat with all new people. So when I went to college this past fall, I knew no one. Like, there was no one that I knew in my grade going to that same school, no one that I had like connections with, no one that my friends knew. no one. So I was completely alone, and I am a relatively social person. So what I found, what that made my transition into college easier was just really being outgoing and being yourself. No one knows anything that you did in the past. No one knows who you were back then in high school or in middle school or whatever. And so it's really a chance for you to just make lifelong friends. And the bulk of that friendship making normally happens within the first month. Although I didn't necessarily struggle with this, I did feel it, but I wasn't overwhelmed with it. A lot of my friends face this issue of, after the first month of school, they really felt like they didn't have their friends, and they were looking back to high school and saying, you know, in high school I had all of these friends, I had 4 people that knew me so well they could tell every single thought that I was having, and I don't have that here. And when I was hearing this, I was like, oh my gosh, but the thing is like, you haven't known anyone here for more than a month. What do you expect? And I wasn't yelling at them, obviously, because I'm kind of overindulging for you guys. Oh, I just spilled water everywhere. But there was a spider on my leg. But the thing is that you will grow to make friendships like that in college. It just takes time. And by the end of the year, I feel like everyone kind of has a best friend or their group, but it really takes time to get into that. So at the beginning of college, the first month or so, do not stress about making friends. Just go out there and do it. Take every opportunity that you have, whether it's going to the movies, going to a party, just asking someone to go get lunch with you. So many people were scared to ask someone to go eat with them. And that was like the thing that I was the best at. I would be like, hey, do you want to go eat? Let's become best friends and have lunch. And that was how I made the majority of my friends, just by asking them to eat with me. Because literally, guys, everyone eats. Whoa, I know. Something that no one knows, that everyone else eats. That's the easiest way to socialize. Just ask someone to go get lunch, and if it gets awkward, you just focus on your food. People just weren't taking the opportunities, I feel like, but eventually everyone gets in the flow of it, so don't let that be something that you're scared of. Don't let that overwhelm you. And managing friends from home and maintaining those relationships is not as hard as you think. Because you've known someone for 4 years, it's really easy to still have that bond when you guys come home. It's still easy to go a couple weeks without texting someone, or a couple days, you know, like depending on how much you text people. Your friends from home aren't going anywhere, and your friends at school aren't meant to replace them. You have to build those relationships the same way that you built the ones in high school. So that is my spiel on that. Okay, so the sun just went behind the clouds, so ignore the lighting change. Most college campuses, unless if you're in a city, typically have dining hall settings. They normally have like buffet style settings, and then they'll have like a la carte settings. So you really have to pick what is best for you. I typically liked the a la carte locations better because I got to really choose. There's a bug on my... Okay, bug's gone. So typically I liked to go to the a la carte locations just because I got a little more control over what was actually being offered to me. But I really did grow to kind of work with the buffet styles, and I think that that's something that people struggled with a lot at the beginning. So my advice for food is to just really keep your options open and to take every meal option as a viable one. At the beginning of the year, I really shut down a lot of the food that was being offered to me, and I wasn't really eating. I know that that sounds bad, like I was eating, just I wasn't eating as much as I probably should have that first week, especially at college. I felt like I was being overwhelmed with the food. After you're keeping your options open, I think that it's really important to maintain a healthy eating kind of ritual, because when you're at college, no one is telling you what to eat. No one is telling you not to eat french fries every day, not to have Coke from the soda fountain every day, not to like eat whatever. And I think that, you know, there's always that stigma of the freshman 15, which I totally believe is a real thing because I saw people going through it, but it's not as impossible to not have like gained that weight either, and that depends on a whole lot of things. For me, to avoid the freshman 15, it was all about eating right, and I think that that's something that I should probably talk to you guys about. No matter who you are, you probably don't want to gain the freshman 15. My tips for that is to just really be conscious of what you're eating and know that the unhealthy options are still going to be there the next day, and you can always have them, but it's really about moderation and really about living a lifestyle that you want. So if you're the type of person that can eat the junk food every single day and not gain weight, then go for it. But if you're someone that has to watch it, just be careful and just be conscious of it. You don't have to say no every single day, but you can always have a healthier option too. And if you research it in your school, I'm sure that you'll find something that's healthier. Yeah, it's just about eating in moderation too, because I feel like with buffet styles, it's really easy to just keep going up and up and up and getting more food. So like I said, a lot of my friends struggled with the friends making and not necessarily any of the work really. Although, like I said, I had a really easy time with the work, so I actually considered transferring to a more academically challenging school. It had nothing to do with the social aspect or making friends or anything like that. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about the idea of transferring in general. Being happy, first of all, let's talk about that. I think that it's really easy when you go away to school to expect everything to be perfect and to have like that really amazing college experience right away, because it's on TV all the time, it's in the movies, it's what everyone talks about. When people are talking about college, they normally really sugarcoat it and they just talk about how amazing it is, and they'll never talk about the complaints to your face until you're going through it, or until you like specifically ask them that. And everyone that I talked to, like literally everyone that I talked to, had some sort of feeling of unhappiness at the beginning of college, or like they weren't being fully satisfied, like their expectations weren't being met basically. And that's really normal. Like I said, all of my friends that I talked to from home and at my specific school went through this feeling, so it's not unnormal. And I think that initially you just have to kind of, it sounds bad to say that, but you just have to be accepting of that unhappiness and just do what you can to kind of work with it and to get yourself out of that unhappiness slump. Now obviously after a month or two, if this unhappiness is still really staying with you and you're getting overwhelmed with it, one, I'd say talk to someone about it, because you don't want to be feeling alone. And the other thing is that no matter what, you can always transfer, guys, and I want you to know that. So like I said, I considered transferring to go to a more academically challenging school. I decided not to do that just because I am planning on going to law school, like I said earlier. But for other people, if that is something that you need, then there's nothing wrong with transferring. I want to say that to you guys. I want you to know that the school that you pick, it could be your dream school, but once you get there, if you're not happy, there's nothing that should make you feel like you can't transfer. And I 100% believe that your parents will support you on that, because your happiness is more important than anything. So if your school is too difficult and it's stressing you out too much, then I think that you should get out of there and get into a happier atmosphere. If you feel like the people at your school are not for you and you have like gone through every single opportunity to kind of find someone like you, then you can transfer schools because of that. Or if it's just not the kind of school that you want, if the environment's not right for you, because I had friends who went through that, you can still transfer, and you can look into transferring in the spring or in the next year. And I definitely think that that is an option, although like I said, I am not transferring. So that was my experience with that. Not everyone's happy at first, not everyone loves their school in the end, but there's still other options, so don't let that overwhelm you, because I saw a lot of people do that and it really got to them in the end. I'm gonna stop talking now and let the wind chill down before I keep going. Okay, so next let's talk about Greek life, because I feel like when most people go to school, they are somewhat curious or interested in Greek life. I go to a school that has a pretty large amount of Greek life. So let me just say this, that I am not in a sorority because I didn't want to go back to school for Rush, because Rush was not incorporated to our academic calendar. It was actually separate from that for girls. So I did not rush. I did really highly consider it, and I did have some friends who went through the rush process. So I'm just going to talk to you guys about the process of rushing and about just the overall kind of vibe that I got from sororities. So obviously there were about 10 sororities on campus, I want to say, and I feel like that's typically the norm. And each sorority has a different kind of vibe to it, and you talk to the girls in the sorority before you really join it. And it's kind of a speed dating process. That's what my friends who went through Rush told me. So you had like a week of rush and you would talk to different girls from different sororities, and then it was just a back and forth kind of game of whether or not you liked the sorority and whether or not the sorority liked you. I will say that if you're a sensitive person, I do not recommend the rush process, although if you think you can get through it, then obviously do it if it's something that you're really interested in. But just be prepared for the fact that it can get kind of catty because girls are shutting you down and you're like racing against other girls to get into sororities. The other thing is, don't get absorbed into the status of sororities, because once you get on campus there will be people telling you like which sorority is the best one and which one has like girls that are anorexic and which one has girls that like do cocaine. That was literally one of the things that I heard about a sorority, that they are the girls that do cocaine on campus. Obviously I was not joining that one. But so yeah, I didn't go through the process, but it is a really demanding social kind of activity. Sororities typically had 1 to 2 things to do a week, and that was parties. So if you're someone that really wanted to focus on your schoolwork, sorority life is probably not for you, but I'm sure that there are different sororities that do kind of different amounts of things and that focus on different things. But again, like I said, it is a really great way to meet people, whether it's just during rush because you can talk to people while you're rushing obviously, or whether it's once you're in the sorority you become friends with people. It is a really great thing to do while at school, but it's just not for everyone. And I think that if it's not for you, you don't have to shove that in people's faces, but you can just be happy without being in a sorority, which a lot of girls I feel like don't think that way. So that's what I have to say about sororities. Sorry if that was not helpful. Going to parties is something that is obviously really prevalent on college campus life. I'm not going to talk about like actually going to parties. I just want to say that one of the things that I find that people don't think about when they start college is safety. And my school, and I think most schools, really have been stressing like alcohol safety and partying and things like that. Obviously you're underage when you start college, so you're really not supposed to be doing any of that. You can obviously still go to parties and just not drink, but there are still illegal activities that go on. So I'm just gonna address that and say this: if you guys are people that are going to parties, I cannot stress enough how important it is to be safe and to be mature about going out, because I feel like everyone that I talked to that went to school, or a majority of the girls, I don't want to say all of them, but a lot of my friends actually had people pass away at their school from drinking, and all of the people I believe are underage. And I just want to say that if partying is not something that you're into, you don't have to do it. And if you are into it, then you just really have to be conscious of what you're doing, because it can get out of control pretty quickly. And this is such a downer part of the video. Just really be careful of what you're doing, because you don't want to end up in a hospital. You don't want to end up getting on academic probation because you can't control yourself. If you are going to go to parties, then just make sure that you're watching what you're doing and how much of something you're doing, because yeah, at the end of the day, you don't know if your friends are going to take care of you. Obviously have a good support system when you go out, and never go out alone, and just be careful. But yeah, so that's all I'm going to talk about that. Parties are fun if you go to them, I'm sure, but you don't have to go to them, and there are tons of other things to do on campus if that's not what you're looking for. This was something that was probably the most important to me when I started college, when I was looking at colleges, and when I was in college. So a lot of you guys at the beginning of the year were asking me for a dorm room tour, and originally I had planned on doing one, but then I never really got around to it, and that was for a couple of things that I'm really not going to talk about. But basically, I'll talk to you guys about my whole dorming experience, and this is going to be the one that's most personal to me, because I don't know, because that's just how it is when you're rooming with someone else. It's just personal. But I'm a very neat person, and I ended up having a double with a girl that I had been randomly set up with through the college, and she was a very nice girl. We got along at the beginning of the year, and then we kind of drifted apart as we became friends with other people. I'll start this by saying that I'm glad that I had a roommate, because I wouldn't have met some of the people I did without her, or at least I probably wouldn't have. And I'll say that sometimes roommates can be great. I'm just going to talk about how I felt after having a roommate. Going into school, I kind of figured that having a roommate was not for me, just because I have never I haven't really shared a room with someone for like 10 years. Me and my sister used to share a room with each other when we were really little, and then we kind of decided that it was best for us to separate. So I separated from my sister in our rooms, and we kind of never looked back, and it really worked out for us. We don't really mesh with sharing a room, probably more me than her. But so yeah, that's just kind of how it was going into the dorm life for me. I kind of expected that I wasn't gonna like dorming. Bathrooms were a whole other situation, did not like communal bathrooms. But yeah, so I had a double and I had a roommate. And I will say this, having a roommate is something that you should probably go through once in your life. But for me, it was the worst experience in college that I ever had. And I will probably, hopefully, never share a room with someone ever again until I'm married or something like that. Because I can't, girl, I cannot share a room with someone else. So my roommate ended up being really messy, really unlike me. We had nothing in common. She could get kind of mean or just not kind of my style. And yeah, so coming out of it at the end of the year, I'll say that you have to keep an open mind, obviously, going in, which is something that I didn't really do. But you can either end up being best friends with your roommate, just being really good roommates, or you can end up being really unhappy, which is something that I kind of got overwhelmed with. Having a roommate just hasn't been for me, and yeah. But that being said, I think that dorm rooms are actually kind of an interesting thing, and I'm living in a single next year, and next year, just so you guys know, I will definitely be doing a dorm room tour. I have big plans for my dorm room next year for decorating and things like that, and showing you guys kind of storage techniques. But yeah, so I had a double, like I said. It was cool, didn't like it, not my kind of thing, didn't necessarily have the best roommate situation, and yeah. But the main deal is that if you guys have a roommate situation like me, just know that you can always switch roommates, which was something that I didn't really want to consider, and I didn't do it. I wanted to stick it out, and I got through it, obviously. But you just have to be conscious that not everyone's going to be like you, and if there's conflict, then you have to address it. I just want to say something to you guys about if you are people that want a single. Getting a single is 100% okay. There were so many people, like I said, I knew going into college that I did not want a roommate, and I faced so much backlash just from other girls, from my family, from everyone saying that I should get a roommate and that I shouldn't live by myself. And my sister had a single her freshman year, and she loved it, and then she had a roommate her next year, and I don't think she was as thrilled. So having a single is 100% okay, and yeah, just don't let people tell you that you have to have a roommate or that you're weird if you don't have a roommate, because I'm just someone that likes my space and likes being in control of my own area. So this video has probably been way too long. Hopefully I can edit it down. If you guys have any other questions, leave them down below and I'll definitely answer them. If you felt like this video wasn't informative enough and was just more advice, then let me know in the comments below and tell me what you want me to talk about, and I can definitely do that. Otherwise, I hope that you guys leave any comments if you've gone through your freshman year of college. Like, tell people how you felt and some of the things that you experienced if they were different than mine, so people can get more kind of a feel for what's going on. So just give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave me a comment below if you want to talk. Don't forget to enter my giveaway because that closes in a couple days on May 15th. And yeah, so I will talk to you guys in my next video. I love you so much, and I'm so excited for this upcoming summer of videos and filming and just getting to be on YouTube as much as I want. And I love you guys, like I said, so much. I'm gonna have some more water, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!